Good afternoon, XRP Army. Welcome to the live stream. If you're catching the replay of this stream, you can go ahead and skip ahead to the 4-minute mark. I'm going to give everyone time to get in, let things buffer, check the audio, all of those things. So the stream will actually begin at the 4-minute mark, so you can feel free to skip ahead. That being said, I'm going to give everyone time to get in. We will be covering XRP fatigue today. I feel like everyone's getting a little worn down. The price has not been doing what everyone wants it to do amidst all the good news. So I'm going to cover, I'm going to try to cover what I think everyone's feeling right now. We're getting nothing but good news and the price is still going down, and it can wear you out really, really hard. So again, if you guys are watching the replay of this stream, go ahead and skip ahead to the 4-minute mark. I'm giving people time to get in. I see some of my regulars already hopping into the chat. And for those of you who are in the stream as you're coming in, please engage in the chat. The chat is the lifeblood of the stream. So far, I see Steven, I see Alberto, and I see William all in the stream. No volume. Oh, you got volume. Okay, you can hear me. Good. Just making sure. I don't want to have any problem. Let's see here. But yeah, so those of you coming in the stream, let me know you're here. And as always, we will do our normal format, which I'll cover when we get to the 4-minute mark. Welcome, Roger. Welcome. Edward, hello, welcome. Everything is 5x5, loud and clear. Hopefully picture is clear. I will give everyone a heads up in the stream today. I might stumble on my words. I got concussed last night. If you can see here, I whacked my head really hard. So, but that being said, this one I know where it came from. This one I still have no clue. But at the 4-minute mark, we'll get started. As of right now, I'm just letting everyone come into the stream, catching up with the regulars. Miss Wendy, welcome. Hello. It is sad to see no. Yeah, you're right, and we're gonna cover that. I'm definitely gonna touch base on that as we go forward for sure. And I briefly touched on it at the end of yesterday's stream, but I'm gonna touch back into that as well. I actually have a lot of information to cover, as well as a lot of positive news. And that's kind of, I honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I saw a comment on one of my shorts, and they're like, yeah, more positive news, price is down. I'm so sick of this. I'm sick of this. And I'm like, a lot of people feel that way, and I want to address that. And it's a normal feeling. It's a normal reaction, especially in today's day and age when videos are everywhere and you're constantly being hit with it. It can wear you out. That's for sure. So I have a ton of stuff to cover today. I'm going to cover all the news, all the ETF inflows, all of that stuff as well. But we need to address sentiment. I feel like we need to address sentiment, and we need to address morale in XRP. So we're at 3.5 minutes. Let's see here. Address new support level of 190. I'll talk about that. I've got a lot for you all, I promise. I'm going to cover the chart, I'm going to cover the ETFs, I'm going to cover the news, and I'm going to cover the sentiment, and I'll cover the chat, just like I always do. So I appreciate you guys. Keep them rolling. I will touch base as we go through the stream, just like I always do if you've seen any of my streams. So we're approaching the 4-minute mark. I'll get started here in just a minute. Is it just me, or do you remember POTUS said there would be no taxes on US-based crypto? Is that still on the table? Okay. I already see some great questions coming in. I see 3 brothers hopped in the stream. All right, we are just past the 4-minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and get things started. If someone could let me know how many people are in the stream, I'm going to go ahead and get things going here. Let me just pull this up and make sure I have everything where I want it. Perfect. All right, so here we are. Good afternoon, XRP Army. Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, kick back, relax. I'm not going to ask you to do anything, but if it's your second time, I really need you to hit subscribe, smash the like button, and engage in the chat. The chat is the lifeblood of the stream. If you haven't been to one of these before, the way it works is I'm going to go through all of the information. I'm going to hop into the chart first. We'll go over price, what's going on, and we use that for context as we talk about ETF inflows, as we talk about the news. And then I'm going to talk about today specifically XRP fatigue and what we need to look at for the long view of cryptocurrency and the long view of XRP, kind of the whole reason why this channel is here and hopefully why you are here. So without any further ado, I'm going to hop into the chart there it goes. It usually lags. We are down to 203 today. It's definitely not looking good as far as the overall price. We did not get above 220 and hold it. You can see we double tapped it and came back down. That's definitely a bearish sign. Current support is still $2. This is our $2 support. This is the pain line we drew a long time ago. We did dip below it a little while back here briefly, but we did hold it. So again, we need to hold $2. Now, again, there's a lot of XRP fatigue. There's a lot of price, and there's a lot of negative price action. This is due to Bitcoin going down. There's two overall economic factors right now that's affecting this because we want to know the why. So if we pull up Bitcoin, Bitcoin is down today, as well as the USD versus the yen. It's starting to go back up now, so we're starting to see a little press up again. Bitcoin follows this very closely. You can Google US dollar to yen, just something to keep an eye on. But I'm going to hop back over here. This is Bitcoin. I want to go back to XRP. So when in doubt, whenever the price is starting to rub you the wrong way you can always zoom out. And I'm going to say this briefly. This is not to do with 100% increases and stuff like that. You can zoom out. I want to look at the 1-day candle, and I want to zoom out here, and we're going to take since the crash in October. Let me find it here. I want to look at that. Here it is. Oh, I went way too far. Here is our crash since October. Okay. So if we look at this, right, look at this pretty picture, look at all of our resistances, all of our lines, they have not changed, right? So if we take this and we just go over, let's look at this picture. What does this picture look like? It looks very, very similar. What happened after that? Okay, food for thought. Let's keep going. What's that picture look like? Looks very similar. What about this little one right here? Looks very similar. You're starting to get the idea. You can follow that all the way through XRP. There's always this mass consolidation area, and it looks like that's what's happening between $3 and $2 right now before we get another pump up or a breakdown. Now, that being said, I don't think we necessarily, and again, none of this is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. You need to do your own research. But that being said, I think our worst case of support, my opinion, is our lowest level of support that I think we will see is the $1.75 level. And I say that because we had that $3.1 billion buy at that level the last time we went there. And that's because now we have ETFs and institutional players hopping in on this. And we're going to cover that later in this video. Again, this is all part of the process. So hopefully you stick with me. I got to build the whole case for you. But that being said, when we're looking at XRP, I mean, this is not a picture that we haven't seen before, everyone. I mean, we've seen this picture before, and each time it happens, it's typically superseded by a run up. That's just history. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but I wanted to show it to you. That being said, as we're talking about price and price being down, it's gone up to 204 while we were talking. Let's go back and look at the ETFs. We always wanted to look at ETFs. Yesterday, in the last 24 hours, come on, don't give me problems. There it goes. We still had positive inflows. 14 straight days of positive inflows. Keep in mind, Bitcoin and Ethereum are having negative inflows, and we're going to cover that. Okay, so even amidst the price going down, XRP is still having positive ETF inflows, and XRP is still being removed from supply from these ETFs. Now, I'm not going to go in and cover all the volume of each of them. We can go through and look. You guys can pull up yourselves. I'll just pull it up here. You can take a look if you want to take a look and pause the screen and pull up any of these that you want to look at. But that being said, we are interested, again, for the long view. What's going to happen day to day, we can track it. But what's important is the consistency of inflows into these ETFs and the consistency of outflows of XRP from available supply. That being said, let's check for updated levels. So I haven't refreshed this since yesterday. I always wait to refresh it until I do the next day stream. So we were at 59 million XRP in the fund for Franklin Templeton yesterday. If we refresh and scroll down, we're now at 61 million. So we're up 2 million from yesterday. Let's take a look at Grayscale. Grayscale is at 85 million, and we will refresh. Oh, Grayscale just went up to 103 million. Almost a 20 million jump. Remember, we didn't see an increase yesterday, but the day before we saw almost a 30 million jump in Grayscale. So in 3 days, Grayscale has locked up an additional 50 million roughly XRP. That is major. 3 days, 50 million from Grayscale. They are a major player, and you guys can watch it happen. This is real facts, figures, numbers. Canary Capital went from 163 million to 165 million. Rex Osprey is at 30 million, and they have no change whatsoever. Bitwise was at 88, almost 89 million, and we're going to refresh them, and now they're at 90 million, almost 700,000. So they gained another 1.5 million. But the big one is Grayscale with the increase, with that massive increase. So, I mean, again, price is down, right? It hurts. We don't want to see our bags go, but we can physically track XRP being removed from supply. And again, as we're going through this stream, everyone, put your questions, comments, opinions, thoughts in the chat. Once I get through all of the information, I'm going to move to the chat, and that's part 2 of the live stream, and we'll have basically another Q&A. Still no update on 21 shares ETF. And keep in mind, we're having these great inflows and record inflows. We're almost at 1 billion. Okay, almost at 1 billion inflows. It's over 900 million now. That being said, that is faster than both Bitcoin and Ethereum reached 1 billion on their inflows. There is massive institutional cravings for XRP, and we're going to cover that. Again, price is down, XRP fatigue. But remember, we are here for the long haul. We're here for what comes a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And if we take a look, this is, again, now just some food for thought. This is another pundit, if you will. But Expert eGrad Crypto, he said something that I thought was very funny. He said, if you don't understand what's written below, it might be a good idea to sell your XRP and walk away. And I do believe this sentiment is true. G Treasury announced we are officially part of Ripple. For over 40 years, we've helped treasury teams manage complexity and optimize liquidity. Now we're bringing the same approach to the digital asset era by giving our customers the option to access real-time settlement and institutional more blah, 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 blah. I don't have the whole thing. Darn. But that being said, think about that. They are just now going live with G Treasury. Okay, just now. From the time we've heard about that acquisition to this point, nothing has touched the XRPL that is from G Treasury. They are a massive, massive billions and billions of dollars, connections to banks, all of those things. The pipes are getting ready to be turned on, and we're still waiting for clarity. That being said, speaking of which, what does the Ripple CEO have to think about XRP ETFs approaching 1 billion? He says, let's see here. Oh, let's see. Here it is. Okay. Boom. Brad Garlinghouse on the XRP ETFs. They've already seen 700 million in inflows, and we're still early. Crypto ETFs are 1 to 2% of the total ETF market. That share will be far higher next year. Institutions are moving from crawl to walk to run. The XRP ETF phase has only just begun. So think about that, everybody. That's Brad. That's Brad Garlinghouse. I know he's supposed to pump it up, but I mean, the XRP exchange traded funds, ETFs, have rapidly grown, approaching 1 billion in total assets. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse believes the growth is just beginning. He emphasized that the market for crypto ETFs, including XRP ETFs, remains in its early stages. I wonder if they have in here. The momentum continues to build as more traditional finance giants enter the crypto space. Vanguard, a major asset manager, recently listed a full suite of XRP ETFs on their platform. The move marks a shift in Vanguard's long-standing position against crypto. We talked about that yesterday. The latest data on XRP ETFs hold 906.46 million in assets. The figure includes 874.28 million in net inflows over the past 14 trading days. The recent trend shows no outflows, underscoring investor confidence in XRP ETFs. They continue to attract new investments. The strong demand for XRP ETFs is highlighted by major investors in recent weeks. Canary Capital, Grayscale, Bitwise, and Franklin have all contributed to a surge in new investments. Just past Wednesday, XRP ETFs received an additional 50 million. 21 Shares has also gained approval for the spot ETF. Trading was set to soon begin. We still don't have the official one, and don't forget, we still have Wisdom Tree sitting out in the wings. This is not going to stop. It's not going to slow down. This is the beginning. There is still so much more money that is about to come into this. And I want to take it a step further. This is what Ripple was tweeting out. Okay? Ripple put this out yesterday. Ripple has invested nearly $4 billion into crypto ecosystem through strategic investments and acquisitions. Sorry, looks like Ripple's trying to schedule a meeting for me over here. Let's see here. Let me get rid of that. Boom. The strategy is straightforward but sweeping in its impact. Ripple is delivering a complete end-to-end payment stack backed by enterprise-grade digital asset services that give institutions everything they need to engage in, benefit from, and scale within the on-chain economy. Some acquisitions will plug directly into Ripple payments to give customers a unified, seamless operating environment with even more capabilities and currencies. Others will operate independently while benefiting from shared infrastructure. Together, they bring Ripple closer to owning the full financial plumbing behind the global value of movement, which means our clients have access to the full suite of global digital asset capabilities that make their business faster, more efficient, and future-proof. Custody, liquidity, payout networks, treasury management, prime brokerage services, and real-time settlement. As we enter 2026, businesses are operating in real time, but their financial infrastructure still isn't. Ripple Unified offering gives companies the ability to bring their money management and movement up to the expectations of the digital world. Ripple's newest acquisitions are critical to powering that change. So they are literally admitting, and you can go through, you guys can see the link here. You can pause, read, I'll scroll through. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But they are basically confirming the reason that they acquired everything is because they want to be a one-stop shop. It's the stuff that we've been reporting on for the last year and we've been talking about for several months. They're just finally admitting it, which we knew. But they are literally plugged into every single part and are a one-stop shop. They're plugged into every single part and they're a one-stop shop for everything digital finance. And it's just now starting to turn on. That's the whole point of the G Treasury post, all of that stuff. It's just starting to go live and we don't even have clarity yet. We're still waiting on it. Not to mention CTO Schwartz was up to his nefarious ways. A critical upgrade alert issued for the XRP Ledger Validator details. A crucial upgrade alert has been issued to the XRP Ledger Validators. In a tweet, John Nelson, an XRP Validator, press message XRP Ledger Validators to upgrade to the most recent Ripple version 2.6.2 or risk being amendment blocked in the next 13 days and 20 hours. So there is a major XRPL update that's going to be happening within 13 days and 20 hours from this post. And if they are not up to date, they could be removed. Why? Because they are stacking up some more privacy information. It says in a November 19 XRPL blog post, it was announced that new version 2.6.2 of Rippled, the reference server implementation of the XRP Ledger protocol, was now available. The release included a new fixed directory limit amendment and a critical bug fix. XRPL amendment that removes directory page limits was activated for voting with the release. The bug that caused an assertion failure when enter transactions, batch transaction, and valid fix. So basically, what is this about? In a recent tweet, Ripple CTO David Schwartz revealed that this hub had been running Rippled version 2.6.2 for more than a week with no issues, including he himself had subscribed to the upgrade. XRPL Smart Escrows. In a tweet, Vet and XRPL validators shared optimism about smart escrows coming to the XRP Ledger. Smart escrows introduce custom conditions to escrow funds directly on chain with the native escrow feature. Users can release escrow funds based on XRP price using oracles alongside other use cases. So they are creating more native on-stream options, and you have to download. They're being warned they need to download this new update 2.6.2 within the next 2 weeks, or they're not going to be able to, or they'll be locked out essentially. So there's something launching in 2 weeks that could be related to native staking, and it's even got Schwartz coming in on it. So that being said, moving along to the next piece of news, I briefly touched on this, but this is important. XRP ETF inflows near 1 billion faster than Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. XRP ETFs are attracting unprecedented institutional attention with cumulative inflows nearing 1 billion. This surge comes just weeks after the launch of spot XRP ETFs, highlighting growing confidence in Ripple and its regulated RLUSD stablecoin. The inflows have already outpaced Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, locking up more than 400 million XRP. Spot XRP ETFs see strong early inflows. We've covered this ad nauseum, but 14 days straight, zero outflows. XRP is beating BTC and Ethereum. Not me saying it, facts, figures, numbers, logic. Pundit says Franklin calling XRP foundational to global settlement. This is less about the pundit and more about Franklin calling it foundational to global settlement. Again, the statement from Tyler Hill, co-founder, CEO of Fluence. I don't even know who that is, but he was referencing that the concept of Franklin Templeton doing this. I'll just read it to you. It's easy enough. Franklin calls it, he said, David Mann, head of ETF production and capital markets at Franklin Templeton, also emphasized that XRPZ gives investors straightforward and regulated way to invest in an asset that plays a foundational role in global settlement infrastructure while maintaining transparency and oversight expected from an ETF. And they went on to say that they think it's going to be more about the belief in investing in the infrastructure versus a direct impact on the price. XRP is witnessing growth at institutional interest. According to him, the development shows that large institutions appear to be quietly rebuilding their exposure to digital assets that sit at the infrastructure layer of global finance. For context, these projects such as XRP support payment rails and settlement systems. And cross-border, sorry, my phone went off there. Here's Tyler Hill's tweet. It says, Franklin Templeton calling XRP foundational global settlement is interesting. Not because of price, because big firms are quietly positioning in infrastructure layered assets again. So, and it goes on to show nothing else. Sorry, I got distracted. My phone went off and it messed with me. But moving along, Ripple's 1 billion G Treasury acquisition triggers global XRP demand. So why is the price falling? This is everyone's question. Save the best for last. XRP's dip despite Ripple completing its 1 billion G Treasury deal, unlocking new institutional liquidity and global Treasury adoption. Ripple completes the G Treasury purchase and expands its global liquidity. G Treasury, a move that signals its biggest institutional push so far. G Treasury integrates its treasury management platform directly into Ripple's digital asset infrastructure, which allows corporations to use blockchain-powered liquidity without even touching a crypto wallet. The setup lets enterprises settle transactions in real time and tap on-demand liquidity while relying on the systems they use every day. So they'll be able to use it without even having to mess with it. This is what we've talked about as far as adoption at scale. When we get to adoption at scale, people aren't even going to know that they're using it. So yes, price is down right now. But if we don't understand that they are just now tapping into the function, use case, and liquidity of XRP, at the same time, it is beating on an institutional level as far as inflows and ETFs, beating Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't know what to tell you. Again, we're here for a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, not what's going to happen today and tomorrow. That being said, let's hop into the chat. and it's looked like it was a lot more active with some characters in it. That's for sure. Definitely some faces and names I have not seen, but let's take a look and find out what we need to talk about. I did the intros at the very beginning, starting at Miss Wendy. Edward Lee, he said it was sad to see sad to see no price appreciation while we have such bullish news. Yes, and that's, again, we've talked about that in the sense that right now XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of them are still being viewed institutionally as a speculative asset. That's why everything is still following Bitcoin right now, and we don't have full clarity. We're still waiting to see what they're going to do with the DAT reclassifications in January. We did see the innovation exemption that they're putting out, the SEC is putting out, so we do have very, very crypto-friendly legislation that's happening. But until we get all that clarity, I don't think it's going to be fully turned on, but we are still seeing the beginning of adoption worldwide. We've talked about Japan, we've talked about Africa, we've talked about Asia, right, with Singapore. It's happening at scale. It's just not flowing yet. I don't know what to say. Address the new support level of 190. Again, I touched on that, Miss Wendy. Thank you. Miss Wendy asked me to address a new support level. I touched on that. I do believe our current support is still $2. Until that breaks and falls, then I believe beyond that, we're looking at that $1.75 level strictly because, again, my opinion, that's where we had that large purchase of $3.1 billion worth of XRP at that $1.75 level a few weeks ago. Crypto Roger says, is it just me, or do you remember POTUS said there would be no taxes on US-based crypto? Is that still on the table? I think we're going to get that in the Clarity Act, hopefully. But we are seeing more crypto-friendly tax legislation that's coming out. We touched base yesterday on the 20% flat tax that's going to be in Japan. And again, if they're going to use XRP as a bridge currency, it's going to have no capital gains taxes on it, because otherwise that'll have to be reconciled every time it's bought and sold to use as a bridge asset, and it's just not going to make sense. So I do think eventually XRP will have no taxes in some way, shape, or form. Now they may do it, they'll probably figure out something like, if you bought it after this time, there's no taxes. I don't know, but the thing is POTUS did say that, but POTUS says a lot of things, and until we actually have a document that says what the tax laws are going to be, I'm not really buying anything. Three Brothers says, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream, Three Brothers. How are you today? Gunpowder 3950 says, good morning. How can you find out how many XRP are left on the OTC? We can't. I wish we could. We can't. At least not that I know of. I'm not that smart. Stephen Hayes 3436 says, at the moment, I'm not frustrated with the current price of XRP. I'm more frustrated that Bitcoin controls the market. XRP is doing everything right, but it doesn't matter because Bitcoin controls it all. I agree with you. We are still following Bitcoin because, again, I briefly addressed that they're all still considered speculative assets in the eyes of the overall economy. I mean, truthfully, that's what it is. We've been tracking the institutional adoption, the acquisitions, the partnerships, all those things. So, I mean, if you've been watching it as closely as we have, it certainly feels like it's done. Like, it feels like it. So that's why, yeah, it absolutely gets frustrating because we already see the painted picture. We're just waiting for it to get there. It's kind of like seeing the finish line at the end of the road. We just have to keep walking down the road. Eventually, we'll get there. We just don't know how far away it is, unfortunately. Let's take a look here. Mr. P. Hello. New face. I haven't seen that one. Sorry, just got in the stream. Did you say XRP is being removed from what? I did cover, hopefully you saw, but I mean, I covered the inflows. They're the biggest thing. And I will do a recap for anyone who came into the stream late. I will do a recap after I go through the whole chat here. I'll hop in, I'll recap everything that I covered for anyone who came in late, and then I'll hop back into the chat. So as long as the chat keeps going, I will keep streaming. And if someone could let me know how many people are in the stream, I would really appreciate it because I don't have vision of that. Let's see here. The Three Brothers said big boys are accumulated and tree is still shaking. Yeah, it's they are accumulating. There is mass accumulation happening in this $2 to $3 range. It's getting locked up by the institutions. Hopefully, the appreciation comes sooner than everyone thinks. But again, I have said I thought it was going to be a little bit longer. I thought we would start to see an appreciation in December through January, and we will get our real appreciation when utility turns on, and that's what I've been tracking the closest. Let's see here. How much of the escrow monthly billion was relocked? That escrow money also goes to short sellers. 700 million was relocked. So only 300 million went out. We don't need clarity for XRP, right? Yes, we do need clarity for XRP. XRP only has partial clarity. It was deemed that it was not a security. It still cannot be utilized as a bridge asset until it is clarified as a bridge asset or currency, or another country would need to deem it its national currency in order for it to plug into the banking system the way we need it to so they can fully utilize it. That's just the truth. You can go back and look. The only clarity it has is the SEC deemed it was not a security. That's all we have. So we do have partial clarity. It allows banks to lean in a little bit, but it does not have the full clarity it needs to be utilized as a bridge asset. Let's see here. Gonna ignore that one. And if you make ridiculous comments, I'm just gonna ignore you, just so you know. Let's see here. XRP goes nowhere, buddy. Keep dreaming. Well, you are entitled to your opinion. I will fully take a difference of opinion, but I have yet to find another cryptocurrency that is backed by more adoption. So until otherwise, that's the way I lean. Let's see here. There are some streamers who okay, I'm gonna get out of that. I don't have any information on Linea right now. I've heard, I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I'm not gonna talk on it because I've seen a lot of scam bots hop in my chats and post a bunch of stuff on that. So I'm gonna skip over that one. Janine, when reverse carry trade unwinds its fullest extent and all hell breaks loose with the markets for you think up to a week or two, do you think XRP will stay around its previous support levels trying to plan? There is no telling, Janine. So what Janine is asking, she's asking if the reverse carry trade does go into full effect like Jake Claver is predicting, what's going to happen to XRP? Well, if the reverse carry trade does begin to unwind, it will pull down the entire market, XRP included. The only thing that would save XRP from tanking like everything else would be the instance like Jake Claver is predicting, that they would start utilizing it for utility that would maintain it. But again, it would need the supply shock to do that. So it would need a rapid appreciation. So what he's banking on is that the market pulls back and it gets gobbled up and starts a supply shock. That's, I believe, his thought. Again, I'm not going to try to predict what he's thinking in his head. But theoretically, Janine, if the reverse carry trade unwinds, XRP would go down before it went up. And not financial advice, but theoretically, that's what makes sense in my head. Let's see here. Miss Wendy says, do you think price will remain down until ETFs are over? ETFs are never going to be over. ETFs are never going to be over. They are going to continue to keep buying. This is the beginning of the ETFs. So no, price will appreciate eventually. I do think we are going to see a major appreciation in XRP at some point, just like we will see in any of the utility and actual tokens that have some form of use case moving forward. It's technology. It's no different than the internet. When the internet launched, in the early to mid 90s, right? We had a big .com bubble that burst right around 2001, and about 4 or 5 companies rose to the top. I fully expect that's what's going to happen here with cryptocurrency. So I am focusing on the long view, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And I'm looking at what is actually solving a problem. Money is made in this world by fixing problems, and XRP fixes a very large problem. So that's why my conviction is here. If you don't have that conviction, you can feel free to go check out something else. Let's see here. Let's see. Dragon as well, XRP whole year 2025 at $2. Yep, sure was. Amazon had a 90% crash all the way down to, I believe, $6 when it had its peak numbers. So again, overall market is considering it a speculative asset until it doesn't anymore. You either believe that or you don't believe that. Very simple. CMGH, do you expect the price to go below $2? If so, I'm going to buy another bag. I mean, I expect it probably will. I'm not going to say it will, but there's a very good chance it will. If we get one more piece of negative information this week, while the sentiment is this low, it's going to go below $2. I'm not going to lie to you. Let's see here. Right, I've even seen some people say 50 cents is likely. I'm hoping to keep some cash on the side so exchanges aren't frozen. If it does crash down to 50 cents, I would totally look at it as a buying opportunity, because the only reason I wouldn't look at it as a buying opportunity is if something negative came out about XRP and then it crashed, right? So this overall sentiment that's happening with this up and down with all positive news from XRP is just following the overall economic market. And if you were trying to time the market and you're trying to make, a fortune in a year, cool. Yeah, you're going to lose your mind doing that. But I'm investing in assets that I believe in for, down the road. So maybe that's why it's a little bit easier for me to see it, a 30% pullback and not be concerned about it when there was zero negative news. But that's just me. That's why I'm able to sit here with that conviction. And we are talking about, XRP fatigue, and because a lot of people were sold a bill of goods that, things were going to be $1,000 by now, or 10,000 or 750 or 100 or whatever the case may be. And again, if you've been around my channel for any period of time, I don't think those cycles exist anymore. I think we have now with altcoins getting ETFs, we have moved out of that. The big players are involved now. So we're not going to see these super cycles that people predict, I don't think. I would love to be proven wrong, but I'm not entering it with that thought. My opinion, not financial advice. Let's see here. Jake Claver said $100 end of year. If Jake Claver's right, I will be pleasantly surprised, but I'm not banking on that one. Let's see here. Janine said, I'm not concerned at all, only excited about the opportunity to build another bag larger during the opportunity when it does. Three brothers, they keep the price flat until they're done accumulating, then price will shoot. I'm going to get into the recap here, but when I get through the recap, I'm going to touch base on this again. Actually, I should probably do it before the recap. So let's go ahead and let me pull that up here, and I'm going to discuss this with you all, especially since we're talking about, long view and long-term investing. I briefly touched on this in yesterday's stream, but we're going to cover it again. So for anyone who may be confused about my thought process and opinion on XRP, if I haven't said enough with long view compute, and I'm here for the long view, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, let's look at some charts. Let's look at NVIDIA. All-time NVIDIA. Okay. They didn't start getting any kind of massive rise until 2020, and they started back in 99. All right, let's look at Tesla. All-time Tesla. They had a beginning to their rise in October of 2019, and they went public back in 2010. Took them 9 years. Let's take a look at Amazon. Come on, Amazon. Let's look at them all time. They didn't have their breakout. Oh, look at this major correction in 2015. But they didn't really have their full breakout until at the end of 2014, 2015. So they came back, or that was 97, so almost 20 years for Amazon. Microsoft, when did they get their breakout? Microsoft's all time here. I would say they started breaking out around this time here. Oh, we can go back even further. October 2013 versus when they first came out in 94. So 19, 20 years. All right. So I think I've made the point. All right. We are here for what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. That's why we follow the adoption. That's why we follow the news. That's why we don't care when it drops 30% on zero bad news. That's why we don't care when price is down 4% or whatever it may be when they announce that G Treasury is official live in the Ripple ecosystem. Considering how much liquidity that's going to unlock and how much business that's going to unlock, don't forget they had all those 40,000 account sets that they were doing the other day. All right, that's why we're here. All right, so now that I've addressed why I'm here and hopefully why, sorry, I got a little animated there. But hopefully, now that I've addressed why I'm here and hopefully why the stream is here, let's get into the recap. All right, so recapping, we covered the price. Let me get back on track. I went on a little rant there. I apologize. Let's take a look. I'm going to pull XRP back up here. I can't. So yeah, I'm not a good typer. I need to see the keyboard and the mic's blocking the keyboard. That's why I do that. All right. So we're going to go to the 1 hour chart because that's the one I like. And I'm going to pull up all the information. We'll do a quick recap. So currently price is sitting at 2025. So went down a half cent while we were talking. And then let's continue. See if we got for ETF. We talked about the ETF inflows. 14 consecutive days of ETF inflows. We are currently over 900 million in inflows with over 400 million XRP locked in supply. We went through each one of the ETFs. We had zero outflows of actual XRP from the ETFs with a massive 20 million bump in grayscales, followed by 2 days ago, they had a 30 million XRP bump. So they've added almost 50 million XRP to their trust in the last 3 days. Grayscale growing amazingly. We also had another 2 million increase for Canary Capital. Rex Osprey still had no change, and Bitwise added another 1.5 million XRP. We still have no update on the 21 shares XRP ETF. Again, we covered G Treasury officially going live inside the Ripple suite. And this is very appropriate for anyone in the stream. If you don't understand what's written in this text, you can feel free to walk away. We are officially part of Ripple. For over 40 years, we've helped treasury teams manage complexity and optimize liquidity. Now we're bringing that same approach to digital asset era by giving our customers the option to access real-time settlement at institutional. We don't get the rest of it, but I believe it's at institutional custody. So that being said, moving on to the next thing, ETFs continue to attract new investments. This was basically talking about how the XRP ETFs approach $1 billion, and it's just the beginning. Brad was going out saying when they crossed the 700 million mark, the crypto ETFs only account for 1 to 2% of the actual ETF landscape, and that's only going to rise next year. So this is the beginning, not. So someone asked me earlier, when will will price appreciate after the ETFs end? These ETFs aren't ending. They're just not. Ripple's coming out advertising. They are fully unified. Their full suite of digital financial infrastructure. They came out with this deck yesterday that they presented to the world, basically stating that they can now offer 24/7, 365 liquidity, routing, institutional custody, anything a financial institution would want. They can come to Ripple, and Ripple can do it 24/7, 365 with digital assets and blockchain technology. That's pretty cool. Let's take a look. Crucial upgrade alert issued for the XRP ledger. There is a countdown. We got 13 days and 20 hours as at least the time this was noted. People need to do their update 2.6.2 for new privacy settings. David Schwartz came out and said he's been running on it for a week and it's been giving him no issues. XRP ETF inflows near 1 billion faster than Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. If you want to call XRP a crap coin, that's fine, but there is no doubting the fact that institutions are piling in money faster than they have any other coin since its release. Just food for thought, facts, figures, numbers, logic. Moving on. Pundit says Franklin calling XRP a foundational to global settlement. More so about Franklin Templeton's opinion than the pundit, but they do view this now. Franklin Templeton does view XRP as a foundation of global settlements. Head of ETF product at Capital Markets of Franklin Templeton also emphasized that XRPZ gives investors a straightforward, regulated way to invest in an asset that plays a foundational role in global settlement infrastructure, while maintaining the transparency and oversight expected from an ETF. Since its launch, it's already attracted 132 million of inflows. That's Franklin Templeton's ETF. Moving along, Ripple's 1 billion G Treasury acquisition triggers global XRP demand. So why is price falling? We've talked about that. Ripple completes its G Treasury purchase and expands into global liquidity. A move that signals the biggest institutional push so far. G Treasury integrates its treasury management platform directly into Ripple's digital asset infrastructure, which allows corporations to use blockchain-powered liquidity without touching a crypto wallet. The setup lets enterprises settle transactions in real time and tap on-demand liquidity while relying on the same systems they use every day. So what does this do? This allows these companies and institutions to use blockchain and use crypto without using blockchain and without even knowing it. This is what we said full-scale adoption was going to start to look like. They won't even know they're using it. And that is exactly what this says. That is exactly why G Treasury is such a big piece of the puzzle for Ripple, because it unlocks the whole thing seamlessly to where institutions don't even have to worry about it. They don't have to do anything different. Ripple takes care of it all for them. That's why they built it all out. Again, not financial advice, my opinion. Nothing in this video is financial advice. I'm going to hop back into the chat now. I appreciate you all being so active today. It's a big, for the price being down, there's just so much positive news and adoption. The adoption at scale happening and everything turning on. I'm excited about it, and I hope you guys can find some excitement about where we're at with XRP, and I know a lot of you do. But for those of you who don't, hopefully maybe you can find some excitement about the things to come in the next 1 to 5 years with cryptocurrency, not just XRP. So let me hop back into the chat. I've completely covered the recap, so I'm going to hop back into the chat and we'll keep this going. If someone could let me know how many people are in the stream, I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to see how long we can keep this thing going today. We have a lot of energy. Let's take a look here. Some chat going on in here, so I gotta find the questions. Let's see here. Janine says she's not concerned at all about the price. I think I touched on that. Three Brothers said they will keep the price flat until done accumulated, then price will shoot. Janine agrees exactly. I mean, I've never been on the price suppression train, but I hope you're right. Let's see here. 1 billion in ETFs in 11 days. Well, let's be honest. We don't need to fudge the numbers, Janine. It's 900 million in 14 days. But keep in mind, not all of those ETFs have been live for 14 days. It's just been 14 days since the first one went live. But we're at 900 million. We haven't crossed the billion yet. It's coming. Don't worry. We're still going to beat the record held by Ethereum and Bitcoin, though. Fishin' Man says, I love the low price means more accumulation for the ETFs. Janine agreed. Guys, even in 2030, you can buy XRP for $2, says Dragonizable. I humbly disagree. Let's see here. Come back and talk to me in 2030. Desiree says the lawsuit officially just ended a couple months ago. Yeah, we are all frustrated to say the least, of course, but XRP is the furthest thing from a dead coin. Looks like Dragon's just provoking people in the chat. They are piling in for zero profit over 5 years. Confusing. I don't know what you're talking about, Fishing Man. Race Fan says, went on a crypto buying binge this morning. HBAR, Sui, Ondo, Flare, and Algo. My XRP bags are packed. Good for you, Race Fan. Good for you. I wish I could participate today, but I can't, unfortunately. Otherwise I would. I made my last purchase at 203 last time. Let's see here. Price is heavily suppressed. A lot of people believe that the price is heavily suppressed. I think G Treasury is going to unlock something big. Again, that's just a gut feeling. That's just intuition. My intuition failed me over Thanksgiving, though. But, you know, nonetheless, what can you do? How long do you think it will take for another crypto foundation to attach a face to the name of their crypto like Ripple has? It seems like a good way to attach validity to a crypto. Well, you have to remember too, they can't directly attach Ripple to XRP and Brad to XRP. But Brad does come out and speak directly to the XRP army. It was brilliant. If you want to look at it strictly from a business marketing standpoint, the way Brad and the way Ripple has handled XRP and the XRP army has been brilliant. They literally, everyone feels everyone's on the same side. They've come out and publicly announced multiple times that XRP sits at the center of everything, and that they've also been nothing but transparent about how they use their escrow the entire time. And they've done nothing but use it to, of course, build out their valuation, but they've also used it to build out the rails for the XRP ledger, which is why I'm okay with it, because they are investing it back into XRP and the XRP ledger. They're investing it back into, you know, G Treasury. They're investing it back into Evernorth. They're investing it back into new validators, new permissions, new privacy on the XRP ledger. So yeah, 100%. I agree with all that. Let's take a look here. So to answer the question, sorry, I got sidetracked. I think they've tried. I think other companies have certainly tried to. I mean, Ethereum has, I would say, Tom Lee. Most people think of Tom Lee when it comes to Ethereum at this point. And then I don't think Solana really has great representation. HBAR should. They should hop on board too. But other cryptocurrencies have tried it. It just hasn't gone over well for them. Let's see here. No, okay. If XRP drops below $2, I'll top off. I think I'll try to. If I can find some, I'll certainly try to. That's for sure. All right. Well, that is all the news. We've covered all the chat. We've gone through the recap. We're going on 51 minutes right now. I feel like we had a lot of good energy, a lot of good news in the stream. Hopefully you guys are here for the long view. And tomorrow is Saturday, so I will not be live streaming. I should have a video up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Other than that, I will hopefully be putting out a few shorts with any updates that are coming down the pipeline. And other than that, I'll see you guys on the next video, and I'll see you live on Monday at noon. All right, later.